Stage 16 took the race back into France and over the highest paved road in Europe, the Col de la Bonnette, just over 2,800 metres. Leading over it was the youngest rider in the race, 21-year-old John Lee Augustin of Barlow World.
As they struggle up the climb here now, look how narrow this road is. The snow markers on the right of the track here. Augustin's made the move. What he has done is completely shatter that leading group. He's got 4 riders trying to bring him back here, and he's got 1/3 of a kilometre to be the first man over this mountain.
Well, that's what he's thinking about. Look at the way he's bouncing on those pedals. He still looks quite fresh. He's still fairly supple as well. He's looking over his shoulder now to see what kind of damage he's done. He is now, Phil, about 200 metres away from the highest road in Europe, and that is quite phenomenal. He's a young rider, just 21 years of age at the start of the Tour, and he is the youngest bike rider in the Tour de France this year.
He celebrates his 22nd birthday on the 10th of August this year, and this would be far and away his greatest ever performance. Barlow World gave him a chance in a big team. He was on the list to ride the Tour last year, but he never made the final cut. He made it this year, and now he's about to top the highest point of this year's Tour de France. There is a reaction, but it's going to take. These boys are so tired now, it's unbelievable.
This is really, Phil, at this point, just a question of survival. You get a chance there to see how steep this climb is. He's looking, he's tilting his head to one side as if to look around the corner and see where is the summit of this climb. Please let it finish, and please let the 20-minute or so descent down to the finish line come to me very quickly indeed.
He turned professional last year for Barlow World. He's never won a race as a pro, but he's offered an awful lot. He finished second in the Tour of Japan. That more or less got him his pro contract in 2006. He's been well up in the national championships as a youngster, but he's over the top now, and he's heading towards the valley below, and it is a long way to the valley below. We really are on top of the world here. This is the highest through road in Europe.
That was good for a €5,000 prize, and this was good for the top spot on YouTube for the next 24 hours. Missing a corner on the descent and heading over the side. His bike became bounty for anyone brave enough to go looking for it. One fan was brave enough to go down to help him up, although cleats make pretty poor crampons. Dennis Menshoff was racing perhaps to save his Tour.
5 kilometres to go to the finish.
And just look at this, Sandy Cassar lying off the back here. I'm not sure he's too happy here at all. 4.9 kilometres, we've just passed under 5 kilometres to go. These are the 4 leading riders: Popovic, Arroyo, Dessel and Cassar. Cassar's the rider at the back. He's still not happy with this descent, and he lays off so he can see every corner.
Well, he wants, I think, to pick his own line around these corners. There in front you've got Tadej Valjavec, who's chasing like a madman to get himself back into the race. With the man in blue there is George Hincapie. Just sitting on the back of the group is David Arroyo. And they're still looking for 30 seconds. It's going to be very difficult, Phil, on a downhill section of this course to actually get yourself back into contact. That's Portal, by the way. Arroyo's in the leading group of 4.
That's right, and they're still waiting for news as to know if John Lee Augustin has started riding his bike again. I would hope so by now, but we're now looking to see who's going to win the stage here. 3.9 kilometres to go as these riders continue to descend towards the finish. Now, one of these 4 surely will win. Looking at the 4 leading riders, just gone in 4 kilometres from the finish. I can't see them being caught now, Paul.
Well, they shouldn't. They've got 30 seconds over a 3-man chase group, Portal, Hincapie and Valjavec, and it's a long way back to the yellow jersey group, around about 1 minute and 45 seconds. The question is, have they studied the race handbook this morning? Because you might as well lead over the last kilometre, because I reckon the first man around the corner is going to get himself the stage victory.
But
Cassar is struggling.
Yeah, he doesn't like going down at all, and this could cost him the race, this, because we race right into the finish downhill.
Well, it's straight downhill into the outskirts of town here, and then straight across the river and a right-hand bend. 3 kilometres to go. Sandy Cassar must be dreaming of the victory that he got in the Tour de France last year and wondering. He chased a victory in the Tour de France for many, many years, and here he's facing up to the possibility of a second one.
Well, Just look at the way these riders are lining up for the bend here. Well, it's like watching a motor race here as they brake hard and then they try to go up on the inside of one another. 2.7 kilometres to go. There's the spread for you. A minute 42 across the board.
Well, I tell you what, these riders also know, Phil, that if they mess about in a situation like this and start to play the cat-and-mouse tactics and slow down, then George Hincapie's group will come back into contact, and they wouldn't want that because Hincapie would then be the strongest sprinter in the front of the race. Currently, I would have to say my money would go to Jaroslav Popovic, but you can never discount the man sitting on the back, and although he looks like he's been struggling, I'm absolutely certain that Sandy Cassar is itching to win this bike race this afternoon.
He is, and that's why he's trying to hang on, and he might change his attitude if he can just get to see the finishing line here. But the way they are going around, another tight bend. Cassar taking a little bit closer order there as he tries to hold on to the whip end. Cyril Dessel is the worker at the front. Another one is a French sandwich at the moment, and they've got the other riders in between, the rider from Ukraine and the rider from Spain.
Yeah, David Arroyo, this is a little bit further back now.
Here comes George picking up Samuel Sanchez, isn't it? Or is it Kirkin?
This is Sammy Sanchez, and I would expect that to be Kirkin. Or maybe it's, in fact, Sivsov who's been picked up by Sammy Sanchez, because Sivsov was in the group with Hincapie, and he got dropped.
Well, they're still well spread out. Sylvester Schmidt here also trying to put matters to rights without his team leader now. Damiano Koenigan and make a tight bend here.
Well, it's still Denny Menchov and Kim Kirkenfeld trying to keep themselves in contact with the yellow jersey group, so they're losing a little bit of time here this afternoon. And strangely enough, as Cadel Evans almost predicted it, on the descent, which is becoming much more tactical than the uphill part of the course.
There might be some losses amongst the leaders, Christian van der Velde and Menchov. I haven't seen Sastra either. But as we're starting to move at 1.3, that's opened it up with the leaders here now. And that is Popovic, who's gone early. And Cassar was straight onto him here. That one's not going to work. Popovic, I think, at 1 kilometre to go, is easing up again to tempt somebody else in front. It was a good move, it didn't work.
It was a good move, but Sandy Cassar, as we'd said, was very observant. He was waiting for that move at 1.5 kilometres to go, and now he's in first position. It's not the best position to be, I don't think, because I'll tell you what, it's a very nasty right-hander. Here's the move coming from David Arroyo on the left.
Well, that would be a surprise, but he's gone for the inside. Dessel is now going after him. Popovic still lively at the back, holding on, thinking Cassar will close the gap for him, and Cassar takes it up. Arroyo has made a real run for the finish here, but Cyril Dessel, and this is the line up toward the braking hard. Cyril Dessel has got the lead, and this could be a victory for France, and it wasn't to be expected today. But Cyril Dessel brakes hard, sees the finish now as he goes into the straight, and now he's got a kick out of this. There's still a chance for Popovic. No, Cyril Dessel has run away with this, and he deserves it. That is a huge result for him. He's not there yet. Oh, yes, he is. He's crossed the line. Do you know what? I didn't see the line. There was so much around that bottom bend. Cyril Dessel carried on sprinting like it wasn't over.
Well, it was a very tricky finish on the run in there. Here's George Hincapie, Phil, lining himself up for 5th place. Oh, how much he wished he'd stayed in contact over the top of that climb, because that could have been a victory for Big George. And here he looks, lines up for 5th place.
Yes,
ahead
he knows
of Portal and Tadej Valjevic.
He knows it. He's a rise shaking the head there by George Hincapie as we swing here to the melee around a French winner on the toughest day of the Tour de France. They will not believe this. Cyril Dessel doing well. And there's the hero of the day, Stefan Schumacher. Well, at least he'll be voted the day's most aggressive rider. There can't be anybody in the hat for that.
Well, it's good to see that he managed to survive, because bear in mind there has been a massive battle behind as Schumacher lines himself up now to get himself across the line. And I think that will be 8th place for him.
8th or 9th, yes, but either way, the hero of the day, and only losing at just on a minute. Now the battle of all the men that matter here. And this is another lead out. It looks like Bernard Cole, the 2nd overall, is going to hang on to the lead out. He's not going to lose any seconds. Neither is Cadel Evans, who's right up the back. You've got to finish alongside each other, so there's no time difference. So they're all going to do that. There will be some of the riders lose a little bit of time today, but Andy Schleck finishes it off there with Cole, Evans, Schleck, the other Schleck, Frank, and Sastre was there as well. Now my watch is running, Paul, and to see how much time this man has lost.
Well, I'm so surprised in Denny Menchov here this afternoon, because he was dropped on the descent of the Col de la Bonnette Restefort, and now he's fighting to keep himself in the bike race here this afternoon. He's got Kim Kirkham there for company, and he's lost himself already, Phil, 10 or 15 seconds.
No, more than that, Paul. Half a minute has gone by, and that is a huge time loss for this man as he races up to the line. 33 seconds, I make it on my watch since Cole crossed the line.
At the line, Menchov had lost another 35 needless seconds in a race he could have been leading if only he'd been paying more attention. He was down a place to 5th behind Carlos Sastre, and his deficit was up from 38 seconds to a minute 13. Christian van der Velde had been dropped on the climb, and he now trailed by over 3 minutes.